Jesus, nobody in the sky. Moonshine Jesus, baby, alright. Moonshine Jesus, a surprising delight. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Hello and welcome to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We are brought to you, as always, by progressivechristianity.org, a wonderful organization where you can go and find all kinds of incredible resources. I hope that you will follow progressivechristianity.org on social media, that you will follow the Moonshine Jesus Show on Facebook, and that you'll subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Today, we are talking about Nope. And we will have some spoilers, but it's been out since 2022. We've had some time to watch it, so don't be too upset if you get spoilers along the way. Hey, I am joined, as always, by my buddy Mark Sandlin. How you doing today, Mark?
Doing great. How are you, Caleb?
I am doing fantastic, especially
Nice,
since I get
nice.
to talk about pop culture and theology and Jordan Peele's Nope, and that I get to drink with you.
Oh,
that is
yes.
always the highlight of my week, drinking with
Me
you,
too.
Mark.
Same here, man. Same here.
What is it that you're drinking today?
Well, one of the storylines of this is that the family that's the main family in the story are descendants of the first black man ever on film, who also was the first person ever on film. And the real history, while they name them in the show, the real history is that no one ever bothered to know that person's name or research it before that information was lost. Well, when their father, a descendant in the storyline of them, passes away, they're back in their living room and they both have a nice, neat glass of bourbon to toast their father. And so I thought I would have a nice, neat glass of bourbon and toast all the, people of color, black and brown folks who were originally in Hollywood, whose stories have been lost. So I'm ready to toast to them in their memory. How about you, sir? What are you doing?
I love that. So, Emerald, who's one of the main characters here, she there's a scene where they are trying to catch the jean jacket, the alien that is up in the sky, on video, and one of the video cameras has a praying mantis on it, and in order to try and get the praying mantis off, she throws Sour Patch Kids at the praying mantis. And so I was inspired by that scene in the movie, and I have made a Sour Patch Kids martini. So it is 1 part vodka, 1 part blue curacao, 1 part Sour Patch Kids infused moonshine, 1 part lemon juice and some simple syrup. And here it is. It's in this kind of death
skull. I like it.
Skull, yeah. So you can see it's blue, and you can see that this one little Sour Patch Kid is getting sucked up as if it is getting sucked up to the alien. Yes. So cheers, absolutely. Mark.
Cheers, sir. And catch y'all on the other side.
It's good.
Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Hello and welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. You're joining us for our Geek Out segment, where Caleb and I will commence to geek out about the film. Just for a little bit, though, we know that we want to move on pretty quickly so we can get to our theological segment and talk about some of the issues that the film points to and have a little discussion about those. For those of you, like Caleb said, we are talking about Nope. For those of you who may not be initiated, there will be spoilers, but a little background. Nope is a science fiction, horror, suspense, Western, sometimes satire film. Nothing like not doing too much all at once, right? And it's about a horse wrangling family whose descendants of the original person on the very first film who was riding a horse, and they now are horse wranglers. And they discover something spooky hovering in a cloud near the family's ranch. And so they bring in the help of a filmmaker and a local guy from a big box electronics store to try to capture evidence of the, as we now know, the unidentified aerial phenomenon, which turns out to be a flying carnivorous monster. And as one might expect, all hell breaks loose. The cool thing is, though, throughout the film, Peele, the director, he pointedly addresses issues as diverse as race and ecology and exploration and Hollywood, just to name a few. So, Caleb, film opens with a scene involving a murderous chimp monkey.
Yes.
What were your first thoughts when you saw that?
Well, whenever I first saw the murderous chimp, I thought, and then okay, so that's the opening scene. Then we cut to like the horse farm and stuff. I thought, what does this have to do with anything? And it took me a while. I mean, we come back to it later in the film, and they tie it all together. But I thought, what is going on here? Why is there a murderous chimp? And it was clearly like you could hear the audience laughing and stuff. So it was clear that it was on a set of something. And it took quite a while to get back around to that. So it was interesting, and I had no idea what to make of it for quite a while. How about you? What was your impression of it?
What was interesting to me was, so this week was my second time watching this. I watched it when it first came out. And I have to tell you, and now acknowledging that we've watched hundreds and hundreds of hours of sci-fi between the time I watched it and now, but I started it and I'm looking at it going, did I start the wrong film?
What was that?
I was like, I don't remember what. And then very slowly I started putting the pieces back and going, oh, okay. But even having watched it, my immediate was like, what is this? Why am I seeing this? This doesn't. So I thought it was really interesting that he chose to start the movie like that. So which makes me wonder, and I'm going to come back to just your overall feeling about it. So what did you think about Jupe in the movie, or Jupie in the movie? What did he bring to the storyline? Because obviously it was somewhat forgettable for me in terms of the horror of his childhood. So it made me immediately think, well, so what was the value of bringing that in?
Yeah. So, I think the way I think maybe this is something, one of the ways that the film suffers is perhaps trying to do too much. I mean, there's a lot going on here. And I think one of the things that Peele is trying to do is make a commentary on spectacle. So he's been quoted as saying that this is a spectacle. The film's about spectacle, and he's talking about, I think, in part why Jupe is using spectacle. I was confused as to why Jupe didn't learn his lesson after seeing a chimp go crazy wild on set. Why he then wanted to try to make a spectacle like out of this carnivorous alien,
I thought maybe what it was with that was that he ultimately, I don't want to say tamed, but he confronted the wild animal and was okay. He ended up not being okay. I don't know that he recognized, and it was part of the setup for the rest of the show, recognized that part of the reason he was okay because he was hiding under a table, and there was a tablecloth that just did cover his eyes. And so he wasn't looking into the eyes of the mad, crazy animal. And so he was able to make contact. And I think part of it was setting up his character is that this is this person who thinks that now I can have this relationship with these uncontrollable animals. But he didn't realize what it really was about. But it also sets up the discovery of OJ later of don't look the giant sky monster in the eye because it's territorial and it will see it as a threat. So I think for me, part of what I thought might be going on.
I think that makes sense. It's like a psychological exploration. Like he didn't receive a psychological closure to that
Yeah.
that horrific event, and so he's like
Mhm.
trying to bring closure by being able
Yeah.
to develop control over the animal. And I think it's worth noting. I think that 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 Gordy attack is at 6:13. And then
Yeah.
every night it's at
It's
6:13 that
6.
he tames
There's
the animal.
There was a lot of sixes in this movie. I don't know what
Hmm.
Jordan's point was.
Mm.
I would have to go back and find them, but I think I counted
Yeah.
5 different times that 6 was
Ah.
very significant in the movie.
Hmm.
Who knows? I mean, even the scripture that was quoted at the very beginning of the movie came from chapter 6, I think, or was it verse 6?
It was Nahum chapter 3 verse 6.
Verse 6. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
lots
Yeah.
of sixes. There was something going on with that. I don't know. So I'll back up now. So I am
Yeah.
curious. What was your
Mhm.
overall thoughts about the movie?
So I liked the movie.
Yeah.
I do think it was maybe trying to make a little too many commentaries, and
Mhm.
I think that ultimately that kind of I think ultimately it kind of hurt the film. I don't know that it was as strong as other Jordan Peele
Yeah.
films that I've seen, but it was a good movie, and it did, I think, make us think about our relationship with nature and the cosmos and race and all. But I think generally we were trying to do a whole lot of things, and that maybe left us unable to
Yeah.
do anything super well. How about
Yeah.
you? What did you think about it?
That's exactly what I thought the first time I saw it. The
Hmm.
second time through, I started seeing this really big commentary on Hollywood and on spectacle and on our need to how Hollywood uses people and abuses people, which with the strike that's going on, I thought was very significant that
Yeah,
we
yeah,
were doing
yeah.
that right now.
Yeah.
I saw a big commentary on that. I saw a commentary on people's willingness to sacrifice all kinds of things, even their own life, for capturing on film just the right thing or capturing the spectacle, and kind of a commentary on how society has driven us to the point that we're willing to sacrifice almost anything for stuff that really isn't as important as a person's life or livelihood or even quality of life. So for me, I picked up on a little bit more of that, and on reflection thought that, and it ultimately is like this big commentary on capitalism, because the reason why people are willing to sacrifice, think about it. And I thought this was a little bit of a brilliant move. I'm not sure that in this kind of movie before I have ever seen folks who realize that they've discovered something sort of horrifying. I don't know that I've ever seen them instantly move to how can we monetize this. Usually it's like fear and run, and how do we escape? But this immediately was what gets them in trouble is how do we monetize this? Because you could have easily said, well, this is messed up. Let's get in the car and leave and let people know about it so someone figures this stuff out. But their thought was, how do we monetize this? I mean, what do you think about that turn that he took? Is that
I like that. I like that, and I didn't look at it in that way, but I like that in terms of the writer's strike that's happened, since that movie. That it had,
and still
that
actors
does get us-
strike in particular.
Yes, right. Yeah, I think that's a good point, and certainly a commentary that our society needs to hear, because that is something that we do as a society, is often think about how we monetize, and often at the expense of others. So yeah, that's a good point, Mark. I hadn't seen it in quite that
And
way.
so that wouldn't hit me this past time, and that's part of what led me into saying, in a lot of ways, this is a commentary on capitalism, and we won't get into that right now or anything. But I found that fascinating that the first time through I didn't catch that. I liked the movie better the second time through than I did the first time. I found the first time I thought it was a little slow paced. I think some of the things actually went over my head. I don't know if I was just distracted or what was going on. I didn't catch some of the commentary which is weird, because some of it's just so over your head. It's almost like you could have been a little more subtle about that. We might have had more fun discovering it. I don't know.
Well, I think that's one of the fun things about Jordan Peele movies, though, is that they're more fun to watch the second, third, or fourth time, because you know that it's layered with complexity. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's been so successful, is because he is using these mediums as a device to talk about things that are going on in our society, which, as we've talked about time and time again, is when sci-fi fantasy stuff is at its best, that's exactly what it's doing, is helping us to understand things. And so to go back and to say, you know what, I really missed that the first time, and it's kind of fun to go and do that, because a lot of movies are simplistic.
And it's great when you can go back and realize that there were those layers that you missed. And I think he is one of the best that there is right now at using the genre, his different, this kind of, he's kind of created his own, there's some Spielbergish kind of stuff going on. This is almost like Jaws in the Sky kind of thing going on. But he's kind of created his own thing. Like, sure, he draws from that, but he draws some Swamp Thing. He draws from lots of areas, and he creates even his own genre and his own film style, which is sort of brilliant. So one of the things that he says, and this is, we'll wrap up this segment on this. One of the things that he has been quoted as saying is that, quote, humanity is the monster in my films. Do you think that's the case in Nope? Because I think that quote came out before he did Nope.
I'm not sure that's the commentary that he ends up making. If it is, I mean, maybe if your thesis that that it's about capitalism, the evils of capitalism, is correct, then maybe. But I think that it ends up being a film that is more a struggle of our relationship with nature and creatures, and our desire to dominate. I think that's what ends up being the main thrust of the film, whether he intends it or not. I think that's the way that at least I experienced it on my first go round of it. That I'm not sure it's humanity that is.
I thought it wasn't at first. The more I thought about it, again, because I arrived at the conclusion that I'm beginning to believe that this very is much about capitalism. And I think it's even beyond that. I think it is about the way that capitalism pushes us to a willingness to exploit people, animals, ecology, and all of that. And if that is what is going on here, and it's at least it's definitely at least part of what's going on here, I would say, that humanity, and not individual humans necessarily, but humanity in general, at least is part of the monster of what creates horror. Because the fact is that the unidentified aerial phenomenon is scary, but it wasn't dangerous until people started trying to exploit it. It was a little dangerous. There were people disappearing. There were people disappearing. But as soon as Jupe and as soon as the family started trying to exploit it, Jupe in bringing people in and trying to control the monster and show the monster to them, them and trying to capture it, that's when the danger actually happens. And so you have to ask yourself, what created the danger? Humans trying to exploit.
That's a good point, because it's also the case that any of these people could have left at any time, and they chose not to. They did choose to exploit. So I think I like that, Mark. I think I like this being about capitalism. I think that's a good understanding of it. I appreciate that.
I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? I was about to say we'll see, but I think that he's probably moved on to his next movie and isn't going to be making a lot of commentary on it. So there's one theory that we can put out there, but we've got other deeper subjects that we need to move on to in our theopolitical segment. So we're going to take a quick drop, and we'll be back with you on the other side.
Welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show, where today we're talking about Jordan Peele's Nope. We are moving into our Theopolitico segment, where we are talking about the theology and politics of Nope. So, Mark, as we discussed in the last segment, there is a
Yeah.
lot here that we can
So
really talk
much.
about. And let's see if we can cover a few of them.
Okay.
I want to start with Nahum chapter 3, verse 6. Since we
Okay.
that up. Okay, and so for those who haven't seen the film, the quote is, "I will throw filth at you and treat you with contempt and make you a spectacle." Okay, so that's the quote that Jordan Peele chooses to open this movie with. We've talked about that last word, spectacle. I'm going to make you a spectacle. So, in the context of the biblical passage, it is Nineveh who is being punished by God for their actions, for turning against God. I'm curious, Mark, why do you think he chose that particular verse to frame the whole film?
Maybe this film is a judgment on humanity. Maybe it is the image of the sky monster throwing all that stuff that ultimately killed their dad, is the throwing all kinds of trash. And it is the judgment of he as filmmaker on our need for spectacle and how our world is revolving around it. I don't know. That'd be my gut instinct, because I remembered reading it, but I didn't go back to re-see what the actual text was.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's insightful. I think that that humanity is guilty of a lot of these things, and I like the fact. I think that that Peele is saying that, hey, humanity, these things that you're doing are ultimately terrible for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
And we have to come to terms with that. You're making a spectacle of yourselves, human beings, by being so concerned with money and profit and all of these other things that you are making a spectacle of yourself. And I think, ultimately in the Hebrew Bible, I think that's the story. The story of Nineveh, I think, is an interesting one, especially if we look to to the story of Jonah and him trying to warn Nineveh about God's judgment. I think that's interesting. So I just thought that was a fascinating quote.
It really was.
And I like your explanation of that. So, Mark, I'm curious. At various points throughout the film, we hear OJ in particular say, "Nope." I'm not doing that. Nope. That's not going to happen. So this is going to come as a shock to you, Mark. But there are lots of troubling Christian theological concepts. I know that's shocking for you.
What? No, Christianity, man. I take offense to that. I mean, Christianity.
I knew you would. There's no way. No, there's no troubling concepts. There are lots of troubling concepts. So I'm wondering, Mark, are there any particular theological concepts in Christianity to which you just say, nope?
Yep. One of the ones that I just say nope to now, I won't even engage in the conversation, is when any person is trying to use biblical text to exclude anyone, but particularly LGBTQ folks. I am tired of that argument. I am tired of going back and forth on that. There isn't an argument here, at least not biblically. There's not an argument in terms of what Christians are supposed to be and who they're supposed to be. There's no argument for intentionally doing something that marginalizes other people. That's a nope for me. I won't even go there. We're not going to have that conversation. And if you try to force it on me, I will walk away. I will shut my computer down. I'll turn on my heel and say, nice to talk to you, and leave. That's a limit for me. I'm done with that. I've done 20 years of that argument and trying to engage it and realizing the senselessness of it and how absolutely it doesn't match up to anything we're supposed to be about. How about for you? What are your nopes?
There are a lot of nopes, but
Yeah.
I think I'd go with the hell thing. I'm
Mm-mm.
tired of
Agreed.
Christians saying that all people are going to hell, particularly that they're going to hell if they don't believe in Jesus.
Right.
I'm tired of that conversation, and it's just based on a complete misunderstanding of Jesus's teaching. You know, Jesus was a Middle Eastern Jewish peasant who didn't probably believe in an afterlife. You know, Jews at the time
Sheol,
typically didn't
maybe.
believe in the afterlife.
Uh,
Yeah,
But
maybe.
But that's just a place where everyone went. Maybe we don't know.
Yeah, right. And so he certainly didn't believe in like a fiery pit with a devil.
No,
right? Gehenna was like a literal
Trash
valley
heap.
when he's talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So
valley heap outside where they burnt their trash. Come on.
That's right. So that's where we should send the theology about hell.
Absolutely.
Is to Gehenna to
I
get
think
burned.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
right. So I am tired of Christians saying, "Hey, you either believe my way or you're going to hell." That is a nope for me.
100%.
Okay. So, Mark, one of the questions that OJ asks is, "What's a bad miracle called?" He said, his dad died by a bad miracle, something that was inexplicable, but inexplicably bad. Mark, do you have a name for those things that are bad miracles that are just inexplicable and bad?
Well, you see, you got me kind of cornered here because I don't believe in specific miracles, good or bad. I mean, I'm with Einstein. Either everything's a miracle or nothing's a miracle. And so, I at least in terms of what the folks who would say a bad miracle, see, it's hard because if you put yourself in their mindset, they're basically most of the time they're talking about judgment almost, because miracles happen to the right people for the right reasons, who were earnest enough and prayed enough and were religious enough and that kind of thing. So they would imply that a person who has a bad miracle must be doing things wrong and that there is some type of judgment involved in it. So for me, it's just the whole concept of miracle creates a providence of God that I am not okay with, and have to constantly fight against thinking of anything as a miracle or those who are trying to claim that something's a miracle. So I don't really have a great answer, because just the concept in general is something that I don't like in terms of how it fits into theology and what it says about what the providence of God would have to be, to pick and choose, to give some good miracles to some people and bad miracles to some people and no miracles to other people. I'll put it this way: if that's true, that's not a God I want to worship.
I like that. Yeah. So I think like bad miracles. I also don't believe in these kind of miraculous things that happen. I think it's a misunderstanding of Jesus and the biblical text. But I do think that most of the bad miracles that happen in society, like societal ills and things, are things that we have some control over, that are not actually bad miracles at all. Like, why are some people born in extreme poverty? Well, because we have, as human beings, have not bothered to do the necessary policy change to ensure that these kinds of folks are not born into societies like this. We have, I think, the power and responsibility to be implementing systemic change so that nobody dies from preventable illnesses anymore.
Absolutely.
So that everyone has enough food to eat. There is enough food in the world. We just hoard it. We don't share it. And so I think that a lot of the bad miracles that happen in our world are actually really preventable things that are caused by, our own human hubris and bad judgment.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So while we're talking about bad miracles, it got me thinking about plagues, Mark. And as one does. But I was particularly struck by the scene in the film where it rains blood on
yeah.
the house, right? So
Yeah.
Jean Jacket, as we come to know this monster alien, is above the house trying to get M and the fries guy, Angel, to
Right.
come out of the
Right.
house. And as a part of that is raining down blood on the house. What do you think that's about, Mark? Can you draw any conclusions from that?
Well, there's certainly spiritual implications of religions where they would put people in a pit and put a bull over top of the pit and cut the bull to have blood run over them, which is where Christianity gets it's washed in the blood language. And there is a certain deeper cleansing that goes on there. And I wondered about that as in the show, but I was having a hard time seeing that was any kind of a cleansing at all. It's one of the moments where I thought maybe me being a theologian of any sort is working against me, because I wasn't sure that this was meant to be theological in any way whatsoever, more than just kind of frightening. And what's a horror movie without a lot of good, a good gory
A lot of
scene?
blood.
Yeah. I mean, we opened with it, and so we needed one somewhere near the end of it as well. So I don't know. Did you read more into it than that?
I think I did. I mean, raining blood is scary always,
I
but
know.
I did actually think of the plagues and God,
Yeah.
filling the. I was thinking
Sure.
about the Exodus story and the
Okay.
rivers of blood,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about this kind of godlike creature imposing this plague on humanity. And so I think it's also important to note that whenever we read what
maybe you putting the Jean Jacket as a godlike creature, maybe it was the godlike creature, going back to our original verse, raining down judgment on humanity for their need for spectacle. For their need for spectacle.
I like that, Mark.
I like
you just tied that up in a nice, neat little bow for us.
You're the one that laid the stones, man. I just followed them.
Hey, I like that. If you can make sense of my incoherent rambling, I love it, Mark. That's why we're such a good team.
We're a good team. We are a good team.
I think I want to end it there, other than to just say that whenever we read stuff like that, like with God's wrath and punishment of all people and stuff, that of course we should see that as symbolic and and a part of the culture, because I do think that and a part of the commentary of what was happening in the story, and not something that God actually does, a wrathful, vengeful, sinners in the hands of an angry God kind of stuff is terrible theology, and I think not consistent with God in any way. But I want to leave it right there, Mark, with the way that you tied that up so cleanly. We're going to end this segment, and we're going to move into our last segment, one of our favorite segments, the Make Me Look Stupid segment. Stick around, join us for that.
Hello and welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. You've joined us for our Make Me Look Stupid segment. We frequently say that is our favorite segment. And, it is, all of them are our favorite segment. It's like choosing your favorite kid. And honestly, it's not, though, because we get to make the other person look stupid. It's more that we get to let our curiosities run amok and ask each other questions that are interesting, that we felt like could be engaged and maybe didn't fit into our other segments. And I'm going to kick us off with one of those questions. It's a very simple, very straightforward question. Is OJ alive or dead?
Okay, so it never occurred to me that he might be dead. So think
about it. He was off in the distance, past the entrance, and there was smoke. He was turned away, like you were just getting the image of him, like it was almost exactly the image of the film strip of him sitting on the horse and in the profile position of the horse. and there was smoke constantly, dust and smoke that were running over him. You never got a clean image of him.
Let me say, if OJ's dead, I don't think Jordan Peele pulled it off. I don't. If he was supposed to be dead, I don't think Jordan Peele did that in a way where
Right.
that could be significant to the plot in any way.
Yeah.
So I think he's alive, and I don't think he's dead. What
Okay,
do you?
I was good.
What,
No, I
what do
agree
you
with
think?
you.
I want to hear
I don't-
more about this theory, though. I like it.
I actually don't think he's dead. When I saw the way it was presented, the fact that he didn't come to his sister,
Yeah.
I was like, and he was kind of in the background through hazy.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what you would do, like if she was having a memory or kind of like wishing he was there, kind of thing. But then I went back and started thinking about it.
Yeah.
Unless I miss my guess, unlike particularly in early horror films where people who were black or brown skin tend to be the people who would die. I think the only people who died in this movie were white skinned people, which I kind of love the reversal here.
Other than Jupe.
Oh, that's true. Jupe did ultimately. I forgot that he actually did get taken by the jean jacket monster. In my head, I thought he was still around and still survived, but maybe not then. But that was part of why I was like, nah, he had to have survived because it would have broken up the whole scheme. But ultimately, I do think that he survived. I think.
Oh, Mark, unless Jupe also was dead. What if Jupe died during
the monkeys?
The chimps, yes! During the attack, he actually died. And
I think
Jupe was also dead.
I think there's far too many people who interacted with him. I appreciate you trying to rescue that for me, but I don't think that's the case. Unfortunately, I just don't think that's the case. But no, I'm with you. I think he didn't pull it off. If it was supposed to be that maybe he could be dead, I do think that the reveal should have been a little more emotional. It was weird that it was so distant and that you didn't see them connect other than kind of a brief kind of staring at each other. But that was my day. Okay. Your turn to try to make me look stupid.
Okay. So I don't know that this is going to make you look stupid, but I want your perspective on this, Mark. So the Fries guy, Angel, he says there are 3 types of aliens. The first is intergalactic beings in search of world peace. The second is future humans who are going to stop us from destroying the world. And the third is world killers coming to shove probes up our asses. So Jean Jacket ends up being none of those 3 types of aliens. So Mark, I'm curious, do you think there are some types of aliens, and if so, which of those 3 do you think it's most likely to be?
No, I think that there's no way that there are 3 types or even 10 types or even 50 types. Is there one type of human? No. Or is there one type of nation? No. So no, I found that funny and curious when he said that. I was like, well, I guess in movies just about there are 3 types. And for me, that was like Peele doing another one of his commentaries of, you know what? You guys only make movies about these 3 kinds of aliens. But you know what? I'm going to show you a different kind. I'm going to show you that you can make movies in a different way and be a little more creative in how you go about approaching it. You don't have to feel formulaic and repetition like so many movies do. To me, that's what was going on there. It was Peele's little kind of poking stick at other sci-fi filmmakers who write about aliens. So that was my take. What did you think about it?
Yeah, so I think the idea of aliens in general is interesting because, one thing that I think is easy for us as human beings to do is to see ourselves as the center of the universe and to realize that we have explored so little of the universe, which we know is kind of ever expanding. And in fact, I saw an article that, in a few billion years, we may not even be able to see lights from the stars because the universe is expanding so much.
So much space.
So that's right. So the hubris of us thinking that we are the only living things in the universe is just incredible. But will we ever see life from other planets or not? I don't know. But I think the futuristic humans coming to stop us from destroying ourselves is an interesting concept because, we are kind of always on the verge of killing ourselves, either through, inducing climate change or through nuclear war or through any kind of other conflicts that we see. I think that human beings seem to have this inability for self-preservation. That's one of our number one driving biological forces, and yet we are always in danger of just killing ourselves. And so I think that is an interesting thought about futuristic humans coming back and trying to keep us from being so stupid.
Well, that's bound to happen at some point. If time travel is ever possible, I think you'll definitely have the ones that go back to try to change history, some for the better and some for the worse. But and we could geek on more and more about this, but we kind of run our show time to the limits now. But we do need to think about what we're going to watch next. I know that I've kind of enjoyed seeing what Peele does. It's unique how he approaches filmmaking. Don't you think?
Yeah, I really like his stuff too. Mark, I've seen Get Out, but I've never seen Us.
Weirdly,
I've never watched that.
Yeah,
you haven't seen it either?
No, and next week we'll be doing the show the day before Halloween. That's another sci-fi horror. So that
should we watch it?
I think that would be a pretty nice road to go down. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so next week we'll watch Jordan Peele's Us. And Mark, we were chatting before the show, and you had an idea for a couple weeks out as well.
Yeah, I've actually mapped out. We usually plan just the day of the show what our next show will be about. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. We just ripped the curtain open here. But yeah, and so this time I'm having a few days off here, and so I thought I had a little time. So I've actually mapped out a way for us to go for the next several weeks, actually for the next couple of months. So we're going to be able to let you know what our shows will be like, probably at least 2 shows out. So next week we're going to do Us, and then the following week we're going to do part 2 of Dune. So if you haven't watched the first part of Dune, it is available online. I believe Dune part 2 will only be available in theaters at first. The Dune came out during COVID, and so they released it directly to streaming. So make sure that you get a chance to see the original Dune over the next few weeks so that you'll be ready to watch Dune 2 when it hits the theaters in early November. And so I think that's a good lineup so far, man. Those will be 2 very exciting shows we're talking about. Yeah,
that sounds great. Yeah, and I'm excited about Us next week. Sounds good.
I am too, and I'm continually excited about all the folks who tune in and watch us live, as well as those who play us back on the podcast. Listen, I say this every time, but it's genuine from the heart. I'm so thankful for y'all because we get to do this because you bother to show up to see what 2 geeks happen to think about pop culture, sci-fi stuff, and theological, political stuff. So we are ever eternally grateful for y'all. Thank you for enjoying our show and supporting us. And so until the next time, thank you for watching the Moonshine Jesus Show.
Moonshine Jesus.